Right now on the National Weather Desk, heat warning. More than 150 million Americans are on alert today as dangerous temperatures stretch from coast to coast.
At times could feel as hot as 110, folks. I mean, that is just stifling.
We'll also look at how the heat is affecting your health.
Heat stroke is when you can't control your own body temperature.
How it's affecting cars.
Could be catastrophic on some parts.
And even cactus.
They start to suffocate.
Also, do you know which city has some of the best July weather in the nation? And what's behind an increase in bear sightings?
It was the most terrified I have ever been in my life. They heard me screaming 2 and 3 blocks away.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The threat of severe weather and expanding heat warnings stretch across the country this morning. More than 150 million Americans are under a heat alert, while millions more from Chicago to Iowa face the possibility of damaging winds and also large hail. Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff is tracking all the action for us this morning.
Yeah, we'll start with that severe threat, Angela, this morning. We are looking at a section in the upper Midwest from Sioux Falls to Des Moines, Milwaukee to Chicago. You're under an enhanced level 3 risk for some severe weather. Here early afternoon, some showers and storms get going, but I think it'll be more into the dinner time hour. Milwaukee, Chicago, we start to see some of these showers firing up Indianapolis over to Cleveland, and that'll carry you deep into the night with that dangerous wind gust concern and hail. Tornado threat is rather low. And then the heat. Well, we have the desert Southwest heat that's been there, but now in the Midwest, excessive heat warnings. Even into the Northeast, we're talking about high heat. Just how hot? Well, Des Moines today, 111. That'll help fuel some of those storms. 105 in Indianapolis, 107 Kansas City, but even Philly, 103, Richmond, 106. In Charleston, West Virginia, triple digits, feeling like 102. Angela?
Ooh, thanks, Brian. July is now on track to be the world's hottest month on record. That follows the hottest June since record keeping began in 1850. Scientists say heat waves scorching North America, Europe, and Asia are a sign of what's to come in the future, such as more floods and extreme weather events. President Biden is taking action in response to the blistering heat. He announced a new heat hazard alert to help protect workers and employers from extreme heat. The administration is also spending millions of dollars on several projects, including developing more detailed weather forecasting and boosting drinking water infrastructure in several western states.
The U.S. Forest Service will award more than $1 billion in grants to help cities and towns plant trees that in the long term will help repel the heat and expand access to green spaces.
Well, the president announcing the actions while pointing this out, that heat is the #1 weather-related killer in the United States. It's been so hot in Arizona, even the cacti are dying. The desert plants rely on photosynthesis to survive, but they do half of it at night when temperatures are actually cooler. And with temperatures barely below 90 degrees in some cases, the plants are roasting, not recovering.
They literally can't function, and the way I describe it is they start to suffocate.
And you could try to throw a shade cloth over them, but that's tough when some of these are 20 to 30 feet tall. And once the cacti are in bad shape, there's not much you can do to actually save them. And heat this intense comes with a warning from doctors about what it can do to your body. Liz Bonus has more on the dangers and what you can do about it.
Healthcare providers say it can mess with your body's natural cooling system, so you may not sweat as usual, which can lead to overheating. Heat exhaustion then sets in when you can't cool enough, and heat stroke is when you can't control your own body temperature. Dr. Stephen Blatt of Ohio's Tri-Health told me this week, here's who he is most worried about.
Older patients and patients who are otherwise frail or immune compromised are at higher risk in these really hot conditions. Certainly anybody who might have trouble controlling their body temperature, especially people who don't have access to air conditioning or maybe not enough water to keep cool, those people are potentially at high risk for having bad outcomes from heat-related events.
Now, a reminder, in addition to getting to a cooler place, how you hydrate is critical right now. Here's what Dr. Blatt says you need to know.
If you start feeling very, very thirsty, if you're out in these conditions, you're behind. And you need to get caught up, maybe get out of the heat for a while, get yourself rehydrated before you go back out there.
If you notice that you are drinking and not urinating, or your mouth feels dry, a solution with electrolytes may be needed, or in serious cases, you may need emergency care so you can get fluids by IV.
You know, the continued intense heat can be dangerous. It can also be damaging to your car. Michael Owens spoke to a mechanic about the risks and what you can do to protect your vehicle.
If you're not maintaining your car properly, you could be in for real trouble. A mechanic at Black's Auto in Conway says it's a good idea to start getting in the habit of having your oil changed at the beginning of summer.
Whenever you get your oil changed, we pretty much check all your fluids, and we can recommend if they've been in there too long, or they're dirty, or they're low. We find out why it's low. Usually if it's low, you got a leak or something like that.
Each fluid in your car not only serves a purpose, but it also serves as a coolant that carries heat away from critical engine parts. Having the proper levels is crucial this time of year.
With the extra heat and the heat of the vehicle and the low fluids and the friction, could be catastrophic on some parts, transmissions and engine bearings and stuff like that.
You should also be paying extra attention to your tires. Hot weather can wear them out faster. Gambino recommends checking the pressure at least once a month when the tires have cooled down.
Tires aren't inflated properly. They will wear in the center or on the outsides, whether they're underinflated or overinflated.
No one wants a ruptured tire or an air conditioner that isn't working properly. AC units do require maintenance from time to time. Gambino says they see a lot of pinhole leaks and units that are low on Freon. But before you take it in, he suggests making sure you're running your AC on recirculation mode, where it's cooling the air inside your car rather than the hot air outside.
You may think Seattle is always rainy and wet, but in fact, July is the city's driest month of the year. Combine mild temperatures with little rain, and you get some of the best summer weather in the nation. Meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson explains why.
Seattle has been dry for the month of July, all the way up to the 24th, when 9/100ths of an inch accumulated in the rain gauge. Climatology shows July 24th as the second driest day of the year. Since 1945, only 41/100ths of an inch of rain has fallen. The Western Washington rainy season is October through May, and the normal dry season is centered around July and early August. July being the driest month of the year with an average of 79/100ths of an inch of rainfall. Why so dry? The North Pacific Ocean has semi-permanent high and low pressure areas. In the fall and winter, the Aleutian low intensifies and moves southward, pushing the storm track south and circulating an active wet storm track into the region. In summertime, it is usually the high pressure that is the dominant feature, pushing the storm track farther north for less storms, and those that do arrive are much weaker. The circulation of air around this high brings a prevailing west and northwesterly flow of drier, cool, and stable air into the Pacific Northwest.
Saharan dust is back in Texas, but how does dust from the Sahara Desert get all the way to Texas? Meteorologist James Spann explains.
This is a high-resolution, full-disk satellite image of the planet. And if you look carefully in the eastern Atlantic, you can see areas of brown. This is the Saharan air layer, a mass of very dry, dusty air that forms over the Sahara Desert in Africa during the late spring, summer, and early fall. This layer can travel and impact locations thousands of miles away from its African origins. Outbreaks of this dusty air can form when ripples in the low to mid-atmosphere, called tropical waves, track along the southern edge of the Sahara Desert and loft vast amounts of dust into the atmosphere. As this layer crosses the Atlantic, it usually occupies a 2-mile thick layer of the atmosphere, with its base starting about 1 mile above the surface. The warm dryness and strong winds in association with the Sahara air layer have been shown to suppress tropical storm and hurricane formation and intensification. That's one reason the Atlantic hurricane season so far this year has been relatively quiet, but we've got a long way to go. The peak of the season is yet to come in August, September, and the first half of October.
Several homes were severely damaged during a strong monsoon that rolled through parts of Arizona Wednesday night. Heavy winds ripped off roofs and several trees, and power lines were taken down with thousands of customers losing power. Luckily, there are no reports of any injuries, and we'd love to connect with you. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search, you can see right there on your screen, NATNat, WSDex, or the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we will look into what role the weather plays in an increase in bear sightings, and we'll find out why the intense heat could be more of a risk to your dog than you may think.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. It's going to be hot and humid in the Northeast today. Look for high temperatures to make a run at the 80s and low to mid 90s. It's going to feel hotter due to elevated humidity. We'll have just about unlimited sunshine here. Here we are into the morning hours on your Friday. Temperatures are starting in the 70s. Again, elevated humidity. We'll have just about unlimited sun, although showers, they're going to stay off to our north and west. Lower humidity, that one will be arriving for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So hang in there.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Starting off nice and warm, maybe not so nice, lots of humidity. Temperatures by 9 a.m. well into the 80s most places, and by about lunchtime we're well into the 90s. Could be about 95 to 100 until some spotty showers and thunderstorms roll in during the afternoon with our latest weather maker, a little disturbance swinging through. Otherwise, high heat and humidity, maybe some relief coming over the weekend. That's the scene here.
Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. We're looking at 93 degrees in Atlanta, 99 in Tupelo. Hot temperatures there. Nashville, 99 degrees. Raleigh, 98 degrees. Heat index is going to be in the low 100s, so it's going to be very uncomfortable out there as we go through the afternoon hours. 92 in Tampa. It looks like we have this area of low pressure that's going to move up the coast, bringing us some showers and thunderstorms as we go through the day. This is 3 o'clock. As we get into the late evening, some of that will taper off, some late showers in Florida.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
This week marks 1 year since intense flooding devastated parts of Kentucky. Meteorologist Brandon Lawson has a look back at this historic storm.
I want to show you what the radar looked like that night. Look at this heavy rainfall just training over southeastern Kentucky. And you see these green polygons, kind of hard to see here with the radar loop, but these green polygons are flash flood warnings that were issued that night. The Jackson, Kentucky National Weather Service office actually had to issue 3 flash flood emergencies that night. And with this being overnight flooding, again, this happened on the night of July 27th and into July 28th morning. Overnight flooding is so difficult because it's so hard to see the floodwaters at night. It's just so dark, and most people are sleeping at night. So it's hard for folks to get those alerts sometimes because they're just not waking up when those flash flood warnings are being issued. And unfortunately, homes were already being swept away by the time some folks were waking up. As a matter of fact, this is actually a picture I took in Hazard, Kentucky last year. This was a family that was picking up the pieces of what was left of their trailer, their family trailer there. You actually see the trailer getting swept away by a creek that was actually sweeping into the North Fork, Kentucky River. You can see how high the floodwaters were there, but just looking at the street signs. The grandmother and also mother of this family, she was asleep during the floodwaters, but she was able to just wake up as her home was being swept away and climb out of this home as they got caught on some of the rocks in the roadway there. Unfortunately, they lost a lot. These are actually pictures they were searching through, including prescriptions too, that they actually climbed on top of the house to get and try to save some of those family memories. Just very sad there. Looking at some of the statistics again today, marking 1 year since those historic floods in southeastern Kentucky. Over 10 inches of rainfall fell in some areas just that night. And in the days following, you had over 600 helicopter rescues and numerous swift water rescues as well. And unfortunately, not everybody could be rescued. Over 40 people were killed, 45 people lost their lives due to the floodwaters.
And in western North Carolina, bear sightings are increasing. There are many factors at play here, including conservation efforts and dry weather that can make natural foods more scarce. Ed Diorio spoke to one woman who says the encounter with a bear and her and her dog was the most terrifying moment of her life.
It was the most terrified I have ever been in my life. They heard me screaming 2 and 3 blocks away.
Sarah Burnett was taking her terrier mix, Benji, outside one more time before bed. Suddenly, Benji started barking.
The bear gave a growl, and then he attacked Benji.
The attack left the 13-year-old pup with severe wounds, which cost Burnett thousands of dollars after surgery.
The vet told me the claw went in here and underneath him and came out down here.
After pouncing Benji, the bear made its way towards Burnett.
He was standing right about here, and I was right over there with my back up against this wall. And I didn't have anything but my shoe, so I took it off and I threw it at him. I didn't hit him, but I threw it at him, and he took off into the woods.
Burnett was unharmed, but still frightened. A run-in like this, experts say, is becoming more and more likely as the bear population grows.
There's going to have to be some type of management strategy that that the Wildlife Resources Commission helps us with. We're seeing more and more bear activity increase. The bear population has grown here over the past 10 years, and obviously bear have become a little bit more bold.
Burnett admittedly let her guard down. She hopes other pet owners don't become complacent like she did.
Even though they have had a good relationship with the bears in the past, it may not always be that way. And so I think everyone should take extra precautions.
You know, there's lots of fun on tap around the country despite the heat, from Oklahoma, Virginia, West Virginia. But we start in Rhode Island and how the weather will impact a festival that's been going strong since 1959.
Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Christina Ernie, and in Rhode Island, one of our biggest festivals of the summer is kicking off this weekend. Starting today, the heat and humidity is not going to stop fans from heading from the Newport Folk Festival. Mid-80s for us, feeling like the 90s. Some storms will be bubbling up starting on Saturday, still heading into the 80s with temperatures further inland touching near 90 degrees. After these storms, though, feeling a whole lot more comfortable by Sunday. Some of the biggest names will be performing at this festival, like Lana Del Rey and My Morning Jacket. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Christina Ernie.
Wheeling, West Virginia will be hosting the 40th annual Upper Ohio Valley Italian Heritage Festival this weekend. And Friday, it is going to be one spicy meatball with a high temperature of 93 degrees. The heat index will top 100 degrees. There will be scattered storms to dodge on Saturday. More comfortable on Sunday with lower humidity.
It's been selected as USA Today's best small town food scene for the last 4 years. Abingdon, Virginia, and it's hosting the 74th annual Virginia Highlands Festival. From arts and crafts and antique treasures to Appalachian food, history, and live music. And the weather this weekend has summer written all over it. Warm and humid with the usual chance of a passing shower or storm.
In Miami, Oklahoma, this upcoming Friday and Saturday, we have the Route 66 Heritage Fest. Not only are we celebrating the heritage of Miami, Oklahoma, as well as Ottawa County, but also the heritage of all of the Native American tribes that live within Ottawa County. It should be a great weekend filled with a lot of fun here. Food trucks and a marketplace, car and bike show, barbecue competition, and you can choose which one you like, as well as live entertainment. It will be hot and humid this upcoming Friday and Saturday, so make sure to dress appropriately, loose-fitted clothing, and don't forget to stay hydrated.
And if you're in California this weekend near the Shasta Cascades, you can find a cool place to get relief from the heat, and there's also spectacular scenery. We get details from Mike Mangus.
Hedge Creek Falls is in Dunsmuir. It's just a short distance from the trailhead and maybe a half-mile trail that leads to an overlook of the Upper Sacramento River. But some people never make it that far, enjoying the experience of walking underneath the falls. Allison Leszewski is a school teacher. She doesn't work for the Chamber of Commerce, but she could.
This is a real unique waterfall. You can walk behind it, and then you can keep going. You'll find a viewing platform of the Upper Sacramento River. And here at Hedge Creek, you'll see people of all abilities. It's a very short hike, zigzagging down a hill, and the parking area is right up at the top of this hill.
Rachel Duryea is from the city of Shasta Lake. She's kind of a waterfall aficionado.
I mean, it feels great. I've been to McLeod Falls like about 4 times this year. I just went like 2 days ago.
It's almost too much to call it a hike, more like a walk, and accessible to the young and old. Almost anyone.
This is a very popular trail. It's a great way to stretch your legs if you want to get off the highway. If you're traveling, it's right there. You'll see a lot of families having picnics. There's tables right up above here. People park their cars. They take their children, their dogs down here. It's popular during the week, it's popular on the weekends, and in all seasons. It's just a beautiful spot to be with your family.
And as we go to break, a look at the horses along one man's drive to work near Reno, Nevada.
Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. Most of us are still hot and humid. However, cooler air is starting to move its way into the north. Bismarck getting to 77 degrees for the high for the day today. Check out the temperatures continuing to fall into the 80s and 70s across a lot of the Midwest. Still triple digits there in Wichita. You guys are definitely hot down there. Same for Sunday as well. However, a lot of the Midwest dealing with highs in the 80s or 70s Sunday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Starting off a little warm for El Paso, maybe Oklahoma City, and into Dallas, into the 80s. Everybody else into the 70s. Same stories we saw yesterday. High pressure starts to move away. We'll still see a little bit of an active sea breeze right along the Texas coast, but that's pretty much it for rain. Temperatures once again are going to be warming back up, getting up near the triple digits. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Hi there, everybody, and good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, the heat continues for most of us, save for the city by the bay. That fog keeping the Golden Gate Bridge at 68 in San Francisco versus 114 apiece for Vegas and Phoenix. Summer monsoons starting to break out over the desert southwest, so look for some of those to blow up later on today. Otherwise, gusty behind the stationary front that's sagging slowly toward Reno. And that's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
You know, weather can be a pain at times, especially when it's so hot outside. Humans sweat, which helps us cool off, but it can be very uncomfortable for our pets. Meteorologist Lindsay Storrs says our dogs deal with this discomfort as well. Some of it can be harmful. Here's a reminder how we can protect their precious paws.
Before you take your dog on a walk this summer, it's important to check the air temperature because when the air is hot, the pavement can be even hotter. Let's say the air temperature is 95 degrees. When the air is 95, concrete can be as hot as 125 degrees and asphalt can be 140 degrees. Temperatures like that can burn a dog's paws. Paw burns can occur in as little as 5 minutes when the ground temperature is 120, and it only takes 1 minute to burn them when the ground is 140 degrees. So keep that in mind during the hot summer months. When it's an especially hot day, make sure you're walking your dog in the early morning or the late evening.
For the latest weather news, you should visit our website. Right now, we have stories about rising ocean temperatures, tips to keep your home cool when AC just isn't enough, and even shark attacks. Scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen for a link. Thank you so much for joining us. Monday on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how the extreme heat is impacting sunflower crops across the country. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Friday, and we'll see you right back here next week.